There's this belief that researchers don't get tired, that they are somewhat robotic in how they approach life, and it's simply not true. And so there's two approaches I often see. The first approach is that people assume that researchers are implicitly motivated to discover things and to think about things, which is true. But behind that is that they assume that they don't get tired or that they're always implicitly motivated about the search, that there is no hiccups that they face. And all of those moments are very, very difficult that all of us face. So when I have this conversation about artificial intelligence, which is, something that I'm deeply concerned about. I'm building a reciprocity platform, which has artificial intelligence that's built into it and continuing to build more for researchers. Is that this assumption is that why don't people just default to, using ChatGPT and those kind of things, which is true. Like I think that does happen, but that often neglects a large amount of problems that you face as a researcher that are highly demotivating and are troublesome, right? Um, Now, there is an implicit assumption. There is that desire often by many of us to actually sort of go and discover things. But at the same time, when you go and do it, you'll realize that there is a lot of bumps along the way. There's a tremendous amount of bumps along the way that is painful, that essentially gets most people, if you start looking at it, you're like, oh my gosh, most people quit, right? Like I love this when I, tell students about it, undergraduate students about this. I'm like, how many of you want to go into research? And nobody puts up their hands. And I'm like, yeah, because it sucks, right? Um, and it does. The way that it's set up right now, it just fundamentally sucks, right? Like people don't want to put in that work, that effort. And if we lower the bar, right? Um, it makes it a lot more enjoyable. So lowering the bar as in let's make it more exciting. Right now, often the way that we approach these things is like, you're not good enough, right? The fundamental assumption is if you did not hack it, and as deeply ingrained with um with all of the conversations that you have, if you didn't hack it, if you didn't get, you didn't get into your PhD program, you didn't get into, become an assistant professor, you didn't, um, you didn't get tenure, it's because you're not good enough. What if that is the problem? Right? It's not because people are not talented enough and good enough. It's just that you hit these road bumps and it gets difficult and people want to quit. What if we changed it? Right? Like what if we approached it from a different perspective and said like everybody is equally talented. They're freaking awesome. And what if we made it just more fun and enjoyable along the way and that these hiccups are that we can gamify it. We can turn it into fun, silly games, right? The whole process is a fun, silly game, which I think if you talk to a lot of people that, have made it, they kind of have done that anyways, that they somewhat gamify it in their head, but it's not explicit. I look at this problem all the time and we assume that scientists and researchers around the world are very robotic. We either assume that they are implicitly always motivated to go and pursue something, like they are some sort of genius, right? Or B, they're robotic and that they'll just keep going regardless of what's happening. And in my experience, you have to be insane, right? Like you literally have to be insane to keep going with something. I think I'm highly unusual. I think I am. Like, I think that part of my brain is turned off of the, I'm not going to give up no matter what. Like, who the hell does this? Who the hell builds a platform um, from start to finish like this and never gives up and continuously does this? Look at the number of people that have actually put out as many podcasts or videos or whatever as I have. And I bet you're going to find like nobody, right? Like it's going to be such a small group. My brain is turned off of the I'm not going to take no for an answer until I actually get this damn thing working. Right, and in all of my experiences, the moments where research did not work, it's because that there has been somebody in the sort of, within that sphere has given up, or they said that, "This is not worth my time," all that kind of stuff, right? Like, all of the usual excuses where it's just like, "Yeah, you know what? You just gave up. Like, admit it. You just didn't wanna do it. You're just like it's not your thing, right? Um, what if we change that around, right? Instead of talking about all these silly excuses, and instead of believing that you're not good enough, like you're a failure, yada, 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 like all that sort of garbage that's built into the scientific process, let's flip it on its head. Let's start with the assumption that everybody actually is good enough. Let's start with the assumption that we really keep people engaged and having fun and being silly. Like, I think it's just the the belief is that, you know, that the belief is that people are just not good enough is not true. Um, I know even with a system that has, all of these kind of fun and games and stuff, not everybody's going to do it, but it's sure as hell going to be a lot more attractive than the current system that it's just about let's grind away in a lab by yourself as long as you possibly can. Um, until you sort of want to throw up essentially. Like the process is ridiculous, right? Like, talk to anybody. It's just like, it's ridiculous that we don't do anything about this. And I get frustrated as I'll get out. And when I talk about the journey that you go through, the feelings that you're not good enough, all those kind of things, people like reach out to me and say, is there something wrong? I'm like, no, it's just damn university tenure systems, right? Like, it's just the research system. Um, and if you're in it, you understand what the hell I'm talking about. You've gone through that. And if you're not in it, everybody looks at it and says, "Oh, well, you are chronically depressed or whatever." Right? So I'm like, no, this is what it means to do research. Let's friggin' flip it on its head, turn it around. Like, um, you know, I just think that there's a lot more people that are capable and interested in doing things, and we're just doing it to service. We are looking at the problem in the wrong way. We look at it from a selection process, right? It's the Navy SEALs. You have to ring the bell, and when you ring the bell, then you're no longer part of the club. You have to quit. That's what Navy SEALs do. You have to go and ring the bell, and in the week that they do their Hell Week, and then you quit. And then those that didn't ring the bell, hey, they made it. What if we flipped it on its head? What if we said everybody is likely to ring the bell, every single one, and we're gonna make sure that it's fun and silly, and we're gonna provide as much support as possible. If you look at sort of this great Navy SEAL guy, gosh, I forget his name. Everybody knows him. Not Jocko, but the other guy. And there's a story when he was doing Navy SEALs, he had, fractured legs and stuff like that. He still completed Hell Week. You know who he is. Um, but there's a story how he, it was like the worst moment. They were super tired. and he started singing, right? Or the crew started singing and having fun. And it changed how they looked at it. And a lot of them were able to survive through this particular moment because they were singing and having fun. Let's focus on that. How do we turn things that are difficult into silly, fun games? Let's change this research around. I know we could do it. All right. Take care. Have a wonderful day.